away across the rolling sea. We all know it, 'cause it's called Gallipoli. April 25th, the day that they landed from the bay. We will keep that date fresh in our memory. Our Australian troops were landed on the beach, and within an hour those birds were out of reach. They charged o'er dales and hills and dosed those Turks with pills, whilst to Allah every one of them did plead. They were there, our Australian boys were there.
On behalf of the President of the ACT Jewish community, I'm delighted to welcome you to the dedication of the Australian Jewish War Memorial to honour Australian Jewish military personnel who made the ultimate sacrifice serving our country. We are also marking the centenary of the knighthood of General Sir John Monash, a man of significance and stature who was a key architect of the Allied successes in France that led to the end of the First World War. Our service today begins with the mounting of the catapult party.
Catapult party, present! Out! Catapult party, reverse!
It's my privilege to read the message from the Prime Minister, who regrets that he's not able to be here today. The Prime Minister writes, "Today you are gathered to remember those who've laid down their lives in the service of our nation. The many Jewish Australians who have served and who have given their lives to protect this nation and its people are deserving of this memorial, and the Jewish community of the ACT is to be commended for its initiative in commemorating their memory. It is out of a love of Australia that Jewish sons and daughters would place their lives in peril so that we may live in peace and security. For those who served in the Boer War, to those who serve today in Afghanistan and our overseas deployments all throughout the world. When you recite the Mourner's Kaddish, you will be saying it for all the 341 Jewish Australians who've made the supreme sacrifice. For those who perished in the Great War, through to Private Gregory Sher, who was tragically killed in Afghanistan in our most recent conflict. You're also gathered to remember the extraordinary contribution of one of Australia's greatest military commanders, General Sir John Monash. Monash earned a reputation as an innovative and outstanding military commander and a widely regarded civilian leader who made a considerable contribution to our nation at war and in peace. The memorial being dedicated today will ensure their sacrifice will never be forgotten. It symbolises the commitment and contribution of the Australian Jewish community to the security of our nation and its interests, lest we forget.
Since the first Jewish returned soldiers' circles came together soon after World War I, and then the various state Jewish ex-service associations that were established just before or soon after World War II, and with their affiliation as a federal body in 1948, the importance of mutual support and of remembering and promoting awareness of the contribution and sacrifice of so many has remained their objective. I express our gratitude and thanks to the ACT Jewish community and all associated with bringing this war memorial to reality. At this unique dedication ceremony today, we are especially proud to honour all those Jewish Australians who have given so much in the ongoing fight to ensure our freedoms, our eternal values, and our democratic way of life, lest we forget.
It now gives me great pleasure to call upon His Excellency General Sir Peter John Cosgrove, Governor-General of the Commonwealth of Australia, to officially unveil the Australian Jewish War Memorial.
Bless, O God, our country of Australia and all its inhabitants. Let us have dreams in this land of long dreams. Let the hot winds from the desert fire our imagination. The red soils of the plains keep us rooted to the things that really matter. Let the deep waters of our rivers, our oceans, and our lakes flow into our hearts, giving us depth and understanding. May we always remember the original inhabitants of this land and their lingering song lines. May we stand as strong and as mighty as our mountains, be as gentle as our places of quiet beauty. As we dedicate this monument, may your spirit vitalize our great land, enter the hearts of our governments and leaders, protect the members of the Australian Defence Force, whether at home or overseas. Implant in our hearts the spirit of love and unity, that we may live and work together in harmony and fellowship for the well-being of this society that we are building together. May peace spread across the contours of our many different souls and the enduring coastlines of our ancient land. Lord God, may your promise be with us always. Let us say, Amen. Amen.
I will now ask the persons who are laying wreaths to step forward in the order in which I will call them. General, the Honourable Sir Peter Cosgrove, Governor-General of the Commonwealth of Australia and Patron-in-Chief of the General Sir John Monash Foundation. Major General Professor Jeffrey Rosenfeld, co-patron of the Centenary of Anzac Jewish Program, patron of the Federal Association of Jewish Ex-Servicemen and Women, and patron of the Victorian Association of Jewish Ex- and Servicemen and Women Australia.
They shall grow not old, as we are left to grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon.
In the centre of today's program is a picture of John Monash being knighted by the King at Bertangles. I'll call it Bertangles from here on. Having done it once, I think the correct way is now eternally anglicised or Australianised. That picture in the program, that beautiful picture, and there's some vision of it as well, shows that mighty man kneeling to his king, and in the background are other officers. And the thing that I took from the photo, apart from the very graphic and inspiring scene of a knighting in the field, was the drawn features on the wall. 4 long years of war. Of course, countless soldiers did not live through, so these men were the survivors. The strain of the 4 years was evident upon them all. Victories had been won at Hamel and Amiens. The course of the war had shifted. And the end of the war to end all wars was now just months away. People might have sensed it, but nobody could be sure. A couple of years ago, Lynn and I stood at Bertangles, on the very place where the knighting occurred, and we had lunch in the chateau. There's that dismissive remark that World War I soldiers sometimes used concerning the leadership. They were chateau generals. Well, the sort of work that needed to be done to propel the soldiers through the carnage of the approaches to German lines couldn't be done in the trenches. It had to be done in detail. We were surrounded by staff, out of range of being wantonly killed by shellfire. And the chateau at Bertangles is not more than a country home. Lots of places in that rich present countryside glory under the name of chateau, but they're not really. It was a headquarters. But I visualise that scene of the line of soldiers through whom the King passed on his way to the chateau, representatives of the Corps, Australians, all thrilled to bits to see their general being honoured in this way, especially on the back of these stunning victories. It's interesting to reflect on whether Monash was a sort of a populist general. Was he a sort of a Pompey Elliott, a sort of inspirational, piratical? Not at all. He's a cerebral man. He was not, though, a man immune to the emotions of war. Many of you who've studied the great man will know that after the Gallipoli campaign, where in terrain that would have defeated any troops in the world, he found some level of despair when his brigade sort of found itself boxed in by terrain and unable to reach an objective which was part of a very large attack, which of itself was probably over-ambitious, the whole attack. He despaired then. But it's to his enormous credit, he rebuilt himself, rebuilt his own morale, his determination. There was no more determined commander on the Western Front in 1918 than one John Monash. As we mark the anniversary of Monash's knighthood, it is opportune to reflect on how it came to be that a young boy from country Victoria, a bit of an outsider, a Jew with a penchant for languages, mathematics, music and theatre, came to be not just, and here I divert somewhat from the Prime Minister, not just Australia's greatest general, not one of, he is the greatest general, but also an outstanding civil servant, community leader and national icon. I suggest, in company with the observations made already at the memorial outside, that Monash's rise was possible because at its very heart, Australia genuinely is the free, fair and open society we so often, and sometimes blithely, profess ourselves to be. We are not perfect. We probably never will be perfect. But I like to think that in our better moments we're perfectly intended. Like all societies, we are not immune from the scourges of intolerance and discrimination and prejudice. And did Monash face these things? Most certainly. It is a tribute to the man that they did not deter him. It's a tribute to those who recognised his ability that they preferred him. But his success is also testament to the fibre and character of our nation. That those strands, emotions of bigotry and prejudice were not able to prevail. Instead, it was a collective sense of what is right and fair. Ask the men of the AIF, did the government make the right decision? And a resounding, deafening yes would have been yelled to from all sides. It did show our respect for each other, our sense that despite our diversity, we're Australians together first and foremost. It prevailed against some considerable odds in Monash's day, and it must continue to prevail today. So today we remember Monash the man. We will admire this portrait. We remember his leadership, service and commitment to the greater good. We will also remember that his rise and elevation in the national consciousness reflects well on all of us. Because when we look at ourselves, for all our differences, our wonderful mix of religions, background and races, we see a nation determined to be its best, determined to reject prejudice and antipathy, to be open and free and tolerant and harmonious. Monash would say to us, as long as we remain vigilant and stay true to these values, we will continue to be the people we pride ourselves in wanting to be, and that Monash was and remains such a big part. Thank you for allowing me this honour today.
Shira Malov, Sainail, Kaharim, Maini Vorzri, as Rain May Malunai, or Sashamai Maras, Ali Tena Motra Lecha, Yunum Shomarecha, Hine Law Yunum Shonshmer Israel, Alunai Shomarecha, Alunai Lecha, Al Yadimenacha.
Song of Ascents. I lift up my eyes to the mountains, from where will my help come? My help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. He will not suffer your foot to be moved. He will keep you, he will not slumber. Behold, he that looks after Israel and guards it does neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is your watcher. The Lord is your shade upon your right hand. The sun shall not hit you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall keep you from all wrong and evil. He shall keep your soul. The Lord shall guard your going out and your coming in from this time and forever.
He who gives salvation to kings and dominion to princes, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom. May he bless Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth, Queen of Australia, and all the royal family. May he grant wisdom and understanding to the leaders of our nation, and bless them with good counsel to uphold the peace, harmony, and prosperity of the nation, promote the happiness and well-being of every citizen, and deal justly with the House of Israel. May he bless the Australian people, enabling all of us to live in amity and mutual respect, enjoy this land's ample blessings, and ensure equal opportunity for the first people of this country as for every Australian.
We live in a peaceful, multicultural democracy which owes much to the courage and sacrifice of our men and women in uniform. 102,000 or thereabouts Australians have died in wars. Many Australians would not realise that more than 9,000 Australian Jews have served in every war that Australia has fought. The Jews, because of the persecution they have suffered over the centuries, understand the precious nature of freedom and democracy and the imperative to strongly defend it. 341 Australian Jews have paid the ultimate sacrifice, and their names are recorded for posterity on this memorial. But these 341 are not just statistics. Each name represents a young man cut down in the prime of his life who died for Australia. A tragic loss for their family and for Australia. 156 names on the memorial share 48 surnames, which include many cousins and at least 9 pairs of brothers. We cannot imagine the grief their families suffered. I present to you but one example, very briefly. Godfrey Sherman, a 23-year-old clerk of Bondi Beach, landed at Anzac Cove with the 9th Battalion at dawn on the first day of the Gallipoli campaign, 25th of April 1915, but did not live to see its end. His body was never recovered, and his name is listed on the Lone Pine Memorial along with thousands of other diggers, including more than half of the 36 Jewish diggers who died at Gallipoli. Godfrey's younger brother, Leslie Sherman, was killed in action at Ypres in 1917. His name is listed nearby on the Menin Gate, as neither was he identified. Sadly, none of the possessions of either son ever returned to their family. The last soldier to be added to the memorial is Private Gregory Sher of the 1st Commando Regiment, killed in Afghanistan January the 4th, 2009. Although the remains of the brave men on this memorial are spread far and wide, they have been brought back in name and spirit to our community, embraced, honoured today and forevermore in our national capital. Let their names serve to remind all Australians of the loyalty and sacrifice of its Jewish citizens in the defence of Australia and her allies. Let their names and the names of all Australian soldiers, sailors and airmen be remembered and remind all Australians that freedom comes at a heavy price. They shall not grow old as we that are left grow old, lest we forget.
Our God and God of our fathers and mothers, Zachor, remember. Remember this day the souls of our brothers and sisters who fought for our freedom, for liberty, democracy, justice in the great wars and conflicts over the past century. We remember this day their humanity, heroism and their courage. We remember the Anzacs at Gallipoli, on the Western Front and in Palestine in the Great War, and shall not forget. Zachor. Remember this day the Australian servicemen and women and all those in New Zealand, British, French, South African, Canadian, American and other allied forces who served their countries, who risked and lost their lives, who were called to stand firm against tyrants and against tyranny. Zachor, remember. Remember those who fought on land, in the trenches, across the deserts and through the jungles. Remember those in the high seas and those below the waves. Remember those who took to the skies, those men and women who served in the medical corps, and remember those who served at home. Zachor, remember those who served in so many theatres of war, and since in Europe, Middle East, Africa, Southeast Asia, Australia, New Guinea, Pacific. Those who perished in conflict, and those who were captured and suffered in camps, those who fought and the partisans. Zachor, remember. May we and our children be spared the horrors of war. May we live to see a better world, one of peace and understanding. Zachor, remember. Let us join together and say Amen. God full of compassion, today we pray for the memory of Sir John Monash, Yaakov ben Yehuda, Jacob son of Judah, his Hebrew name, strategist of skill and innovation, militarist of courage and conviction, a diplomat of distinction, fighter for freedom, a man of vision, of clarity and compassion, proud Australian, loyal Jew. May his memory continue to inspire us to dream and to achieve, to work for the common good and to be committed citizens. May the Lord be his heritage. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen.
Judaism has always been considered to be a communal religion. It's not something we practice on our own. It's something we bond together with others. We consider it a communal religion for that reason. In many countries Throughout history, there's been a duality in the Jewish existence. One had to be a Jew at home and a member of the society in the street, that we weren't free to practice our religion publicly and openly. Australia is one of the countries, in this point in time, is one of the points in time where we feel comfortable doing that. We feel comfortable being full members of society, even within our Jewishness. It's no wonder then that so many Australians, so many Jewish Australians have volunteered when the call came out, because Jews have been able to be part of Australian society. So when the call came out, the empire's at war, Jews signed up as loyal Australians. There's a saying that there's no such thing as an atheist in a foxhole. I'm not sure that's necessarily true. But what I do know is that really there's no such thing as a Jew in a foxhole either. And there's no such thing as a Christian, or a Buddhist, or a Muslim. These men and women who go out together in defense of their countries and in defense of freedom are brothers and sisters. And ultimately, as has been mentioned by the Governor General, as mentioned in the song we just heard, you never walk alone. You're together with your brothers and your sisters, and it doesn't matter where you came from if you recognize that you have the talent and you have the ability. We're all here for a common cause. This painting shows General Sir John Monash surrounded and backed by soldiers, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but the fact that they fade into the background shows that maybe to some degree it doesn't matter what background they came from. They were all brothers and sisters. And we Jews in Australia are proud to be Jewish. We're also very deeply proud to be Australian.
No more and